Sector 9's disused cold storage facility sits at the terminus of an overgrown industrial alley. Coated in decades of rust and salt, its massive steel doors lock away an old colony breach, the rest of the city walled off and forgotten. Inside, the space is pitch black and claustrophobic. The air carries a suffocating chill that smells of rotting meat and ammonia, broken only by a single harsh yellow beam from a cheap lantern cutting through the floating dust. That narrow light reveals the immediate threat. A dozen meters away, 3 scavenger imps are tearing into a frozen carcass. These are toddler-sized beasts covered in oily, pitch-black hide, equipped with jagged obsidian claws. The math of this encounter is simple. In a direct confrontation, 3 of these opportunistic feeders would flank a human and sever a femoral artery before their target could even react. Standing in the dark, Kaelen's heart pounds violently against his ribs. Yet his hands hold a rusted iron crowbar completely steady. To isolate his targets, he pulls a scrap iron bolt from his pocket and throws it across the room. The sharp, metallic impact shatters the silence, drawing the attention of 2 imps away from the carcass. Survival for an underdog in the Apex Dome relies on this kind of environmental manipulation. Kaelen is choosing to control the terms of the engagement before the first blow is even struck. The distraction works. 2 of the beasts scatter toward the noise, leaving a single, slightly smaller imp lingering alone by the carcass. Kaelen strikes silently from the deep shadows. He lunges, driving the heavy end of his crowbar down with every ounce of his weight, an impact shattering the creature's spine instantly. Now he needs the remaining 2 out of the open room. He smashes his weapon against a metal shelf and shouts into the darkness, drawing the other imps into a chase. Kaelen has forced the pack to move according to his plan, using the imps' own aggression to draw them into a fatal blind spot. As the imps sprint back across the room, Kaelen retreats into a narrow corridor flanked by heavy industrial meat racks. This choke point forces the enemies to fight in a single line. The tight space neutralizes their wide, slashing claw swings, scraping uselessly against the heavy steel framing. When the first imp leaps into the gap, Kaelen braces his back against the rack and thrusts the crowbar upward. The rusted iron spike drives through soft cartilage, directly into the brainstem. The final imp hesitates, but Kaelen kicks the adjacent meat rack with all his strength. The rusted support bolts give way, dropping 200 pounds of heavy industrial steel directly onto the beast. There is no magic in this victory. It is the result of burning lactic acid, heavy breathing, and the calculated use of a rusted tool. Killing the monsters is only the first hurdle. Standard system protocol requires a multi-thousand credit essence extractor to harvest a monster's core. Without one, the corpse decays into useless matter within the hour. Kaelen lacks the credits for that equipment. Instead, he kneels beside his first kill and hovers his bare hand over the crushed skull. He focuses on the metallic hum beneath his skin. Instantly, his palm flares with a dim gray vapor that acts like microscopic needles, withering the monster's flesh into dry ash. Within seconds, the carcass is gone. In its place floats a single, jagged, dark green crystal, an etheric fragment containing raw, unpurified monster essence. This extraction isolates a source of power that the rest of the world considers inaccessible and lethal. Kaelen has found a way to bypass the standard economy of the system. Normally, touching this shard bare-handed would cause muscle paralysis or heart failure. Kaelen grips the raw green crystal anyway. The assimilation is excruciating. The crystal dissolves into his skin, feeling like a liquid line of fire racing through his nervous system and stretching his tendons to their limit. This status panel confirms the result. While a standard Tier E class typically requires weeks of labor to gain a single point, Kaelen has increased his agility attribute instantly by absorbing what other hunters would have left to rot. As the searing heat fades into a cool lightness in his limbs, he pulls himself up against the concrete wall. Standing in the freezing dark, a cold smile breaks across his face. Kaelen now has a repeatable, if painful, method to force his stats higher than the system intended. he has learned how to pull power directly from the creatures that scavenge the dome's forgotten corners.